In creating true peace, Thich Nhat Hanh invites us to think about the information that we take in as something we are consuming. He urges us to choose the media, entertainment, and information we let into our minds and hearts with as much care as we choose the food we put into our bodies. Yet, unlike the hungry caterpillar in our story, the world doesn't present us with a variety of colorful, nourishing options and clear instincts as to what we need. Rather, one of the great challenges of being human in these times is that we're constantly fighting a sense of overwhelm. So many choices, so much input, so many demands, and so little time to digest. Am I right? Is it just me? No, okay. So it's definitely true for me, and I've been trained when I get to that place of overwhelm to take a deep breath, breathe with me, and turn toward curiosity and growth, kind of like the caterpillar shedding its skin. You know, the capacity expands over time. I ask myself, what is there for me to learn in this situation? I don't always do this with tremendous grace and enthusiasm, hence my favorite acronym, AFOG. You've heard me talk about this before. Another effing opportunity for growth. I have a new one, too. This is a gift from my friend and colleague, Wendy Williams. WTF. Wasn't that fascinating? But it's a lot. It's a lot these days. So I wasn't surprised on sabbatical that I needed to go deep into the layers of my life, re-examining and metabolizing experiences and stories, trauma, lessons, losses, and more. What I was surprised by, however, is that to do that work, I couldn't move through those layers like an archaeologist, examining them from the outside and digging and delicately sifting and sorting and brushing things off with a paintbrush. Nope, I needed to liquefy and seep on down, fill all those nooks and crannies like water. I needed to let go of almost everything that gave structure and safety to my life. My job, my home, my marriage, my identity as a minister and as a mom. And I think I needed to do that because the pieces that were there for me to absorb and digest were pieces that these roles and structures couldn't hold. Pieces I'd buried or hidden from because I didn't know how to look at them and still be safe. This is really actually kind of difficult to talk about. Am I making any sense? Yes. Okay. William Bridges is an author who spent his career focusing on how people move through transitions. He writes, change is situational. Transition, on the other hand, is psychological. It's not those events, but rather the inner reorientation or self-redefinition that you have to go through in order to incorporate any of those changes into your life. Without a transition, a change is just a rearrangement of the furniture. Unless transition happens, the change won't work because it doesn't take. For Bridges, each transition consists of an ending, a time spent in the neutral zone, which is characterized by restlessness, uncertainty, discomfort, and the new beginning. So that neutral zone is what Bridges calls cocoon time when we're in the middle of transforming or transitioning from one stage to the next. I hate the mushiness of the neutral zone. I've never liked it. But I've learned the hard way that there's value in letting go and tolerating that discomfort, the discomfort of the in-between time. The seeping down, the liquefaction process helped me find and reconnect with the center of who I am, the principle of being that abides, in Kunitz's words, or the imaginal discs, if you will. In that itchy place of not knowing, I cooked in a rich life soup and came back together in ways that feel important and good. I hinted at one of these transformations when I spoke last week about staying connected to my own spirit, holding the questions, can I be as compassionate toward myself as I am toward everyone else? And can I name and advocate for my own needs as fiercely as I do for the needs of others? Are you familiar at all with the Enneagram? Yes, okay, and I think maybe I've talked about this before. It is to spirituality what the Myers-Briggs typology is to psychology, which is to say it offers general categories into one self-selects in an attempt to promote understanding. Self-understanding and understanding of others who have different ways of being human. Each type has gifts and challenges and a recommended growth path. I am a 9 on the Enneagram, also known as the mediator. The great gift of the 9 is that we're very good at creating harmony and balance in relationships and in communities. We're excellent at managing conflict, even as we're uncomfortable in it. The big challenge or sin of the 9 is self-forgetting. Self-forgetting. We morph. We become what the system needs us to be in order to be stable and harmonious. The recommended growth path is to become ever more centered in ourselves, in touch with our own intuition. As we age and mature, we learn to maintain our integrity even in the midst of conflict. So hopefully some of this sounds true to your experience of me. Okay. Well, it turns out that when you take my 9-ish self out of the places where there are people in relationships and communities that it's my job to bring into harmony, and there's a period of time that is mushy and confusing, these imaginal discs begin to grow and a truer shape emerges. I rediscovered who I am and learned to hold my ground rather than morphing into what the situation requires. You may notice that when I'm asked to do something, there will be a pause, a checking in. I may say no more often than I used to, because I believe ultimately I'll be more effective if I'm wholly and firmly myself. I can't be all things to all people. What I can be is strong and healthy and clear and honest. So that's my goal. That's the transformation I'm bringing back to you. Get ready. You know, I've long been a fan of boundaries, understanding them as a way to be in relationship in a healthy way as opposed to barriers to relationship. However, many people experience the setting of clear boundaries as an act of aggression, hostility, or even rejection. In the past, I spent a lot of time and energy attempting to coax people who reacted negatively to the setting of boundaries back into relationship. I think the new Elizabeth is a little bit less willing to do that. This means facing the pain caused by loss of relationship. If someone, for example, leaves the church community or severs the relationship in anger, we can't be all things to all people either. But we can be strong and clear about who we are and honest with one another. Good boundaries make us healthier as a community. So that's one big transformation for me. We'll see how it plays out. There's another transformation. I wasn't exactly a shrinking violet before sabbatical when it came to social justice, but I wasn't as brave as I am now. Beloveds, I spoke last week about the need to take care of ourselves, to engage in practices of creativity and rest and time in nature. But the reason for all of that is so we can answer the call to action with integrity, strength, and skill. We're in for a bumpy road in this hurting nation, this hurting world. And I know I feel a call to action, feel a call to activism around gun violence. We're in the midst of an epidemic, not just of mass shootings, but of mass shootings motivated by white extremism. 100 years after the Red Summer, we're again seeing a wave of terrorist acts targeting people of color. This is not a political issue. It is a faith issue. It is a human issue, and the world needs us to get out there as people of faith, as humans, to say that. So the strategic actions right now are to ask our U.S. senators to encourage discussion of House Bill 8, H.R. 8, which mandates universal background checks and allocates funding for research on mass shootings, and also to ask our U.S. representatives to hold hearings in the House on this upsurge in white extremist violence. There are materials to support you in writing letters or making calls or sending emails or faxes in the basement. We need to flood our legislators with messages that insist they face this issue rather than yielding their power to the NRA. You know, the NRA used to be an organization that promoted responsible and safe gun ownership. and it's become a lobbying behemoth working on behalf of the gun industry. But I'm digressing. There's going to be a whole sermon on this sometime soon. Thanks to Pat Rathman, who paid an inordinately large amount of money to buy the subject of a sermon for this coming year. Holy smokes. And she wants me to talk about gun violence, so I'm down for that. I also feel a call to respond to the demonization of refugees and the flagrant disregard of human rights in this administration's immigration policy. This, too, is a faith issue, not a political one. Our Christian roots teach us that the proper response to one who is hungry is to feed them. The proper response to one who is naked is to offer clothes. The proper response to people who are fleeing danger is to offer hospitality. Meanwhile, our current UU principles affirm the inherent worth and dignity of all people, refugees and border guards alike. So how do we hold that? What are we called to do and be? I don't know, but I know I can't stand by and do nothing. I said to someone, I have this feeling I'm going to be on the border by the end of the year in some capacity. I also feel called to continue working to address the needs of our actual neighbors here on the Palouse who are struggling with issues related to poverty, and those who are struggling with addiction, and those who are struggling with mental illness, and those who are, yes, struggling with all three. I feel called to do the work of dismantling white supremacy in my own heart, in the communities I serve, and in the world. And over it all looms the specter of global climate change. Our planet needs us to act, too. So that's a lot of issues calling, and they're all calling loudly. Their demands are complex. And as I reflect on how to answer, I circle back once again to how important it is to do the work of justice in community. What I can do pales in comparison to what we can do together. But I know that caterpillars fed a steady diet of outrage do not become beautiful, fiery social justice butterflies. Is it enough to be mindful about what we take in, which narratives we listen to, what facts we research, what sources we trust? I think about the common responses to overwhelm. One is withdrawal. We turn off the news, we stop paying attention. This is different than resting or pausing. Another is despair. We sink into how big and complicated the problems are, and our sense of helplessness becomes our refuge. Though it doesn't feel this way, giving into despair is taking the easy way out. Yet another is distraction, which in excess can become addiction. We can become addicted to alcohol or drugs, but also things like exercise or reading or social media and online engagement. Even our hobbies can become addictions. What tips something over from a healthy activity into an unhealthy distraction is when we start using it to run away and be less present to what is real. I envision this church, this community, being a place that invites a different response, a place where we are open and willing to be changed, a place where we give ourselves the spaces, the containers to digest, even to liquefy when it's called for, a place where we let go of the things that trap us in the illusion of safety and allow ourselves to be transformed over and over again in small ways and in big ones. Our commitment to work together to create a world that's worthy of our children, that's the most important imaginal disc, the core abiding principle of our faith, the DNA of this place. I don't know what shape it will take in the future, what life looks like on the other side of transformation, but that's kind of the point. We don't know ahead of time. We just have to trust the process. I do know this. The choice isn't between allowing ourselves to be transformed and staying the same. It's between transformation and dying. We're in the midst of a great turning, a huge shift in what it means to be human. And I know who I want to be in it with me and why. We're being asked as a culture and as a species to be human in new and more sustainable ways. We're being invited to let go of control, let go of habit. We're being called to discover or uncover new and better ways to become. I don't know about you, but I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. May we chew together through the tough stuff, but also enjoy enough sweetness and nutrition to remain healthy and strong. May we be brave enough to enter the mushy discomfort of not knowing. And may we emerge wiser, more compassionate, transformed. So be it, and so may it be.